8 gates. This is the Taurus reading for February 2024. We'll be doing 3 chimes of the heart chakra, tuning fork, then the reading, then 3 more. So here we go. Taurus, Taurus. Endurance. It feels as though there's a journey that Taurus is on, and the journey is kind of feeling like it's elongating, not in the most pleasant way. So it's kind of feeling as though the intention was that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen, and then reality comes in. I've just done this. I've just started the reading. And then without the thing, there you go. See, this is exactly the point. So 3 of these. If you don't want to do that, then you can mute it, and then when I go back to the cards, you'll see that I'm back into the reading. Here we go. 3 of these for you, Taurus. So that felt really high. I'm doing the heart chakra for all the readings just so it's consistent, and because of the certain energies that are coming up right now. So that completely epitomizes what was coming up with the endurance of that. You're planning to do one thing, you go into it, and then something happens, you have to divert and then come back. The thing is, these diversions and distractions that are coming in, they may not be the most desirable, shall we say. Your plans are kind of getting sidetracked, your intentions are getting influenced by others, and you're not digging it. So Taurus is feeling a little bit frustrated at the moment from the seeming of this energy. Slow down. So there's something in this which is interesting for Taurus to get a slow down, which is interesting for this because as it's saying slow down, it's not actually you that needs to slow down, because it's not usual for Taurus to be the one that's speeding ahead. It's slow your thoughts down, slow your plans down, slow certain things down, because your excitement and your enthusiasm is kind of misguided, it's misplaced in some places, and you're unwilling or unable to see where it's been misplaced because you're going a bit too far ahead of yourself. I do see sense that it's kind of like in your mind, you've already you've galloped ahead in steps and leaps and bounds of like, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. It's going to trip you up because you're not seeing, therefore, what is right in front of you right now. The details that you're ignoring right now is because there's some element of fantasy going on. There's some element of not connecting with the actual truth of certain things. So the renewal, slow down to get a renewed perspective of what's actually happening. Get a renewal of updating, giving yourself an update of where actually is this going? Where have I anticipated it going? Where do I need to shift and change my perspective so it's actually appropriate and relevant to where this is actually at the present moment, because your perspective of it is not based on the truth of what's actually happening. This is feeling very much so the influence of Pluto, not Pluto, sorry. Well, it could be that actually. Pluto now in Aquarius, but also my internet's still down, so sorry. Pluto in Aquarius, but also the influences in Pisces, because of Neptune coming into it the way it is, but also you've got Jupiter coming up to Uranus in Taurus. So this is also going to be compacting some energies, it's going to be compacting some consciousness, it's going to be compacting the reality of things so that you aren't going to be able to ignore certain things that you are possibly not wanting to look at right now. King of Swords again. that authoritative kind of feeling of this is the reality of it. This is the intellectual identity of it, I want to say, but you're seeing it in a different way. So although your endurance is great to go fast and hard into fantasy, your endurance now needs to be in slowing down and looking at the reality of things so that you can have a renewed perspective and renewed plan. So I don't want to repeat that again too many times, but it is coming back to that same point again. Justice here feels as though you want to make sure you're in a position where you're not being sidetracked. Because if you do not take the time to slow down and see the truth of this thing, it's going to play out one way or the other. You either do slow down, see the reality of it, and then justice comes in your favour, and then others are exposed for what they're doing or what they're not doing. Or it's going to be that you sit in your fantasy for so long, and then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of indulging in that fantasy a little bit too deep, a little bit too long. This is quite an interesting vibe for you. Queen of Wands coming in. So then from this, you're going to understand where to proceed forward. If you decide to come out of that fantasy, it's like there's a cloud, a rainbow cloud, and I can definitely see that there are unicorns, there are gummy bears, like actually moving around and living tangible. They're not real tangible, but like as if there were real gummy bears in the land of fluffy clouds, rainbow clouds and unicorns. So the reason I feel like that's coming in the way it is because not only is it a fantasy, it's like how realistic is that in this world right now? Like, what I mean is we can have our fantasies, and I don't know what exists in truth on other dimensions and things like that. But at the same time, if we don't see the reality of who someone is, what they're bringing to the table, what they're not bringing to the table, what are you bringing to the table, we have a very, very, very distorted perspective of reality. Therefore, the Queen of Wands feels as though she's waiting for the say-so from the King of Swords, waiting for the say-so from King of Swords to go in the direction of foundation being strong, go in the direction of foundation being solid. But the thing is, she's not normally the Queen of Wands has no problem of waiting and just going ahead and just doing it herself. But for some reason, it feels like the Queen of Wands is waiting for that clarity, waiting for that yes, you may proceed now kind of vibe, because the perspective of the Four of Wands right now is not exactly how it actually is. So it needs to be like the plans need to be drawn up in a realistic manner. So a better example that's coming in is you have a certain space of land, you have a certain plot of land, you've got a certain amount of space, but your plans haven't accounted for the limitations of that space. You've kind of sprawled the plans out a bit. So that bathroom that's like 3 times larger than what it actually can be or should be is so the plans are not accurate, they're not in scale. There we go. We got there. It's not in scale to what the reality is. So we need to bring things into scale. We need to bring things into a realistic perspective, a realistic scale of what is happening, what is able to happen, and what will happen, what can't happen, what won't happen, what shouldn't happen. It doesn't even feel like a reassessment. It's like you haven't even done this assessment, or you're taking your time on it, which is interesting. And that's why I said the slow down part for Taurus is kind of confusing. Stop the slow down in the fantasy, pick up your pace and endurance in the reality. And I think the fantasy is feeding Taurus on some level, because the reality isn't adding up. The reality isn't as moving forward the way you want it to. If you do this process, if you go into this process, you can start seeing your actual victory. You can start pivoting and adjusting things to make sure you have a victory that you need and want. The thing is that victory may not look exactly how you wanted it. It may not include some people that you wanted to have in the victory. It may be that you have to let go of certain things and you're not willing to do that. It does feel a bit candy flossy, if that makes sense. It's feeling very fluffy and like candy floss sweet. It's like that much sugar is just not good for you. That much sugar is not going to sustain you in the long term. So you've got to get to grips with having some peas and carrots as well in between, or whatever it is that's healthy for you to eat. You've got to have a balanced diet. You've got to have a balanced energy diet. You've got to have a balanced perspective of what's actually happening. Getting things into scale. Letting the love flow through. This doesn't have to be a difficult process if you don't want it to be. It just means that the love has to flow unconditionally. For some people, that's okay. But for some people, unconditional love is a really difficult concept to comprehend, because they say, yes, I'm unconditionally loving, I'm unconditionally accepting. But yet at the same time, it's when so-and-so does this, then I'll love them. When so-and-so does that, I can't love them. I can't like them. They need to stop doing that. And it's like, well, that's not what unconditional love is. Unconditional positive regard, unconditional love is literally, that is who it is. You either love them in the state that they are, or you don't. You either accept them in the state that they are, or you don't. You can't have it both ways. It just doesn't work that way. It's easier for yourself to acknowledge if you're not unconditionally loving and you do love from a conditional kind of space, then one, that will identify where you have needs that are unfulfilled. It will help you identify a certain standard that you might be trying to uphold, or certain boundaries that you have in place, and possibly barriers, certain boundaries you have in place that you haven't acknowledged before, and you kind of ignore them, and then tell yourself you don't have any particular boundaries because you say that you're unconditionally loving, when in truth those boundaries may require you to be conditionally loving in certain aspects. It doesn't mean you're not capable of unconditional love. It just means that certain things are like, I love that person, love that thing, love that project, love that job. But when this comes in or that comes in, I don't. Therefore, it's not unconditional. It becomes conditional. I enjoy the job and I can do it regardless of having to do this and that and the other. That's unconditional. I can't stand it. I'm going to leave because I can't do this and I can't do that. It needs to go. It needs to stop. It needs to... that's conditional. So have a look at, where are you being conditional and where are you unconditional? Where are you telling yourself you're unconditional but you're actually bringing a lot of conditions in? And how realistic are those conditions? I don't know. That's up for you to decide. I'm not even having that part of the conversation because a lot of energies are coming in. That actual concept of conditional and unconditional alone is not going to be easy for you to swallow for some of you. Some of you are getting it and understanding it, are going to move forward. Some of you don't get it and don't want to get it. That's fine. That, again, is another source of clarity, another source of, I'm really loving how there's a lot of reiterating of messages and going in deeper into certain points in these readings for February. So something definitely is, usually when they come in as a double, it's kind of like confirming something, but the February readings are coming in as not just confirming, but it's also magnifying the intensity, it's magnifying the point that's being made. It's going deeper, it's going wider, it's going into different directions, but it's the same point. So the strength required for you to do this is going to be it's really there. It's all there, available for you. You just follow the instructions, say what it's see what it says on the tin and do what it says on the tin. Follow the instructions. Build your endurance by slowing down and get yourself out of the fantasy to be able to renew your contract with yourself, renew your plans. So if you're building a property that's this big on a plot of land that's this big, you need to go to scale. You need to redraw the plans up with a new scaling system. You need to readjust the size of the bathroom, size of the kitchen, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but that's just the example that's coming in. I can see the architecture plans is just not going to fit. So it's not that it's bad, it's just a matter of, look at that. Ace of Cups with a bigger Ace of Cups. Let that love flow in. Let what you're doing bring love through. Like, love what you're doing, love how you're doing it, love who you're doing it with, love why you're doing it. Making sure that it's authentic to you, it's organic to you, it's part of your true path, it's part of what you really want to do. Your commitment to it is going to come through in the steps such as slowing right down. And endurance really is it's about you being able to stick to the plan, and now you have to revamp the plans, you have to rescale everything. Be diligent to do that. Be willing to be able to put the time, energy and effort into that, because although it's a bit of a crappy thing to have to do, and it feels very defeatist, it feels very like, why do I need to do it again? I've already got that, just to halve it or something. It's like, well, there are certain things now that are just not going to fit. So for example, if you had the plan for, just as an example, you had the plan for the bathroom to be that big, you can't just simply halve it, because you can't halve the size of a bath, you can't halve the size of a toilet. You might actually need to move things around now in the plan. So you've really got to take the time to slow down and see what's really required of this. It's not taking the easy way out, it's not taking the lazy way out, it's having to do the work and making sure that you're doing the due diligence, recalculating things to fit, like I said before, to fit to scale. Page of Swords. So as you're bringing more love to it, it's going to be that more information comes in. Don't be surprised if you shift something and you tweak something, and then more information comes in and then you have to tweak it again. More information comes in and then you have to tweak it again. This is why the endurance is there. It's like, keep your mental and emotional endurance at high clarity, high peak, because it's going to require you to be flexible. It's going to require you to be diligent to make those tweaks as efficiently and effectively as you can, because this is where the renewal comes in. You've got to, this is because you've been possibly in fantasy space for so long and you went so deep in that fantasy. So it's coming out of that fantasy, coming out of that illusion that you've planted. Therefore, the judgment coming in with this is in your favour. I want to get a different card for that to clarify that. So the judgment is being sounded. The judgment is dependent on what you do. The judgment will be different for everyone. Some people will do it all 100%. Some people go overboard and do 120. Some people won't bother. Some people just switch off and say, whatever is that woman talking about? King of Cups. Doing it with love, just really following it all with love, following it with passion, following it with understanding that you have got the appropriate support, you have got the appropriate things coming in, but you need to be able to recognise it, you need to be able to see it for what it is. Genuine, sincerely exploring what is unconditional and what is conditional, because it feels like that can benefit quite a few people if you actually take that time to do that. Therefore, you're going to have the choices coming. Again, what is a fantasy? What is not? What is the reality of it? What is the stuff that you can let go of? What are the choices that you have that are plausible? Which choices are not plausible? Which one to choose? Which one to let go of? So you've got a very definite theme going on, Taurus. Six of Pentacles. There you go. There's a bit of humility in here. Working with the underdog, or you think you are needing to do things in a particular way. You've literally just got to revamp it. This feels as though where you've been thinking or saying you're unconditionally loving, but you haven't actually been. This feels like this is where the unconditional love is coming in. This is then going to help you understand if you are actually unconditionally loving, that's not an option, and that's not an option. If you are actually unconditionally loving but you didn't think you were, that's an option, that's not an option, this is an option. So it's kind of, like I said, getting it to scale of what are you willing to compromise, what you're not willing to compromise, and bringing that into play when you're vamping your plans. That's quite a busy reading, Taurus. Enjoy that. Like I said, you've got Jupiter and Uranus in your house. Jupiter is getting closer and closer to Uranus. Bop. Things need to change. Things have to change, or it will change for you. So we've got 3 tuning forks coming up. The personal readings 108gate@gmail.com. There will be new playlists coming up with just tuning forks, like I said, for 1 minute, 2 minutes, just so you have something that's not just you can just basically submerge yourself into the tones and the frequencies without worrying about time and stuff. So just literally playing with time in a different way. So for now, I'm going to give you 3. I might give you 4, whoever, whatever. So let's see what happens. So for now, peace and love.